It's really funny because back in the, it was one of my first really big jobs in the field because I got a counseling, I have these degrees, and so I wanted to go into the helping profession, and I ended
Mhm.
up being a director of a battered woman shelter, and it was one of my most, every single job I've ever had, I really feel the mission and the purpose behind it.
Mhm.
So I did all the things. I did all the things. I was great. I really loved going to the hospital and helping the women there and transition them into the shelter and help them in their life and help get them jobs and help the staff be who they needed to be and all the things. Um, but then the I was the director of the shelter, but there were many facets to this
Yeah.
organization. And the head of the whole entire thing says to me, "You're going to speak in front of the board." And I just went, "No,
No,
I'm
not
not."
me.
And she said, "Yes, you are." And I froze and I called in sick that day.
Oh no.
And I did not do it
Oh.
because, and I'll tell you why, it wasn't like, and this is years ago. Would I do it now? Yes, but I would go in, and this is the autism in me. I would have to sit in a certain place. I couldn't have people close to me. I would have to hold on to something. I would have to have all my senses taken care of in order to do it, but I would do it. But
Mm.
back then, all I did was see the intimacy behind what she was asking me to do
Hmm.
because they just wanted to hear about me. They just wanted me to come in and share and meet me. And I panicked. I just
Yeah.
panicked. That wall, see, I was one way with the women in the shelter because that was my mission to let
Right.
the wall down with them.
Yeah.
It was a different thing when there were people that were of power for me to sit across from them. My mission wasn't there anymore. It just changed. It scared me. And I again became voiceless.
Hmm.
So I couldn't even show up. So,
That's really interesting. So, as I'm hearing you, everything's coming to me as in these certain settings. When I am talking to people who can have relatable situations with me.
mhm,
I sit on the board for a nonprofit shelter for youth. If I'm talking to any of the youth, if I'm talking to the young adults or whatever, I have, it flows because there's some kind of relatability. You don't have
mhm,
any like your walls come completely down because you have somebody across from you that number one, if your guard, not guard, if your wall is down and you're more open, they're going to be more open to you. So
mhm,
you're not hidden because they see your vulnerability. And
mhm,
when I'm speaking and I'm speaking to teachers, it's not the
mhm.
kids, but when I'm speaking to teachers, I know that they are going to have an effect on those kids. So
Right.
I pull down a little bit more, not a lot with them, but I pull. But I'll tell you what, here's where my guard goes up, and that's how I was thinking about this when you talked about speaking.
Mhm,
I sit on the board, and I sit on the board with the most incredible humans. They are so good. Their mind is in the right place, their hearts are in the right place. But my guard comes up because they have, and this is kind of like a weird thing, but it is what it is. I shut down and don't use my voice as much as I feel like I should, I could. Not that they've ever said no to me. I mean, they want my voice. I'm there as the voice of youth. Um, what intimidates me is that these are highly educated, meaning college graduates,
mhm,
they're in these businesses that, are all up here. I didn't graduate college. I went for a semester or two. I don't
mhm.
have that educational background. I mean, my
Yeah,
expertise is in what I've lived through, right? So
right.
that's where I can do my authentic self with other people who are experiencing that. And then
It's
again,
true
with
of
the
hard
teachers,
knocks, which can be some
yeah,
of the, I mean, our experiences can be the best teaching tools for other people.
yes. Yes, but we always get into the situation no matter how good we get with the speaking and stuff like that. There's going to be a
Right.
group that all of a sudden you're like, You know, you get, I don't
You
know.
get
I
intimidated.
You do. I had this one. I have to tell you this real quick. I had this young adult that I'm, helping to do the blog with for our thing, and she has such a just a confidence about her that I wish I had. I mean, she's like, she's old enough to be I'm old enough to be her mom, but she has this confidence. We were talking because again, I can have these discussions. So, that mask is down because your fears are down because you're talking to somebody who has been in situations. And I said to her, I was like, oh, when I get to this setting and she, we're on Zoom and she looked at me, she was like, don't you ever there, this girl is 20 something years old and she was like, you can't let people like that intimidate you. You just got
Yeah,
to go in there like you are I forget what she said, but she said such good words that I was like, so that's been on my mind. But it's funny how we get in certain settings and sure, you know what I mean? But yeah,
sure.
I definitely feel more at ease and more comfortable not wearing a mask and being more of just who I am because that's me when I am speaking to the youth or the kids or even somebody else like yourself who has shared similar backgrounds where we have a relatability against us. And then again, with just the teachers, I don't relate, but I know that they're going to affect a kid that like me. So I try to well, I have to. I mean, my speech is about my story, so I guess I need to let down a little bit to be more,
Hmm.
to share that. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
When my mom passed away, up until she passed away, I was a person that I could say my mask was about as thick as it possibly could be.
Yeah.
I, there was nobody or nothing that I was gonna let in.
Yeah.
After she passed away, and I always say that I started breathing the day that she stopped breathing, which is pretty powerful.
It
But
is.
I do, I have a tattoo that is the dove, and
Oh yeah.
it says faith in God's hands are releasing the dove. And it's so funny. Well, it's not funny. It's really strange. But after she had passed away, I was with one of my daughters. She was with me when it happened.
Mhm.
We leave the hospital. We're driving down the street. It's like after midnight. I'm like, ugh, I need gas. So I pulled over, I'm at the gas station. We had balloons, helium balloons that had been tied to her bed. For whatever reason, I wanted them. And I took them and I had them in the car. I had them in the back seat of the car. I opened up the front seat and here I am. I'm getting the gas and everything. And out of nowhere, and I'm talking these balloons were tucked in the back of the seat. They weren't moving.
Mm-hmm.
Out of nowhere. The door was open and they they just went out of the car. And we tried to grab them or whatever. And I
Yeah.
mean, there wasn't a wind, there wasn't anything, there was no reason for them to leave the car. They were secure.
Oh,
And out of nowhere, they just like leave. And it was the absolute strangest thing. And we both tried to grab them, and it was like a power or a spirit or something greater than
yeah.
us made that happen. But it represented to me the that I was free, she was gone, and it
Yeah.
was like those balloons just took up everything with her. It was so profound to me.
Yeah.
So I got the tattoo because I wanted it to represent where I am now in life. And I really believe it took a lot, most of the mask up with her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I felt a little bit the same. So when I ended contact with my mother, which caused everybody in my family to disown me, except for two cousins, there was a little bit of relief. I still like was very shocked. It took me years, but it was like all of a sudden I can use a little bit of my voice. And then
Hmm.
when my grandmother passed away, a couple years ago, it was. same similar is like, and I know I said to someone, I said now I could breathe, and actually they said now you can breathe too. It was really weird, but
Hmm.
it's crazy the people who put those fears in you, and they're the ones who put the, I call it, for me it's like their hands over your mouth, so for your that's your mask or whatever. Once they were out of the picture, yeah, you do kind of have that area to breathe and let things down. Let that guard down a little bit because now, I don't know, it's a freedom. I definitely agree with you when that, and same with a little bit of last breath when my grandmother did, I was like, I know I'm free now. Well,
Hmm.
somewhat. I still have adversities on, the person that's still living. Even without contact, there's still issues, but in the big picture, you're finally free. And I think that that's what helped me too, to be able to write the book, to be able to come out and speak, because now I
Hmm.
didn't have any of that um, keeping me quiet.
Hmm. Yeah, you're talking about, I mean, did you ever see yourself doing these things that you're doing now?
No, because I would have been terrified,
Yeah.
terrified. Well, and inside of me, I always wanted to help somebody. Like I wanted to help someone because I've always had
Right.
that in me. But did I think I would be helping them in this capacity? Absolutely not. Like
Yeah.
maybe it was in there and you always thought something, but oh God, no. I mean, no, no. But I mean, it's who I am though. Do you know? And
Hmm.
like you said,
Hmm.
like I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. Like I know this is my purpose. This is where I'm the happiest. I'm obviously I have a wonderful family. I'm happy, but me as the person, not me as the mom, not me as the wife, not me as the friend, me as the
Hmm.
person.
Hmm.
Um, this is what I'm supposed to do. So that does kind of help me. It reassures me I'm doing the right thing,
Hmm.
because it makes me happy.
Well, I think that lots of times fear keeps us from being able to tap into our talents. And so
Hmm.
I always wanted to be a broadcaster. I always wanted to be um, all these things. I mean, this was my passion, what I'm
Yeah.
doing now behind a microphone. And I, as a kid, my creativity was what actually helped bring me out from
Hmm.
being able to be behind that mask. And we recently have been dealing with the death of my brother. And so it's really kind of really brought up some of those traumas again. And so what ended up happening for me was that kid in me said, you know what? I'm going to start drawing again and start tapping into some of my talents again because it can really stifle you to the point where those masks can keep you from even being able to know where you can thrive and live and love and
Yeah.
feel and all the stuff that helps you be you.
Yeah.
And my creativity and my photography and my drawing and my writing and all those things, um, and I also make associations because when my dad had died, I was at the best in my swimming career, if you want to call it that. But back then it was heading in that direction. And so then I ended up quitting when I had to be taking care of my mom because I really felt so much heaviness on me to take care of my mom all the
Yeah.
time because I was the only one. So I really, there were so many opportunities. Like I wanted to go to Juilliard. I wanted to do like all these things to even go to New York or LA or, because that was my
Yeah.
passion and what I wanted to do. And I was just like, no, I have to take care of her. So I kept putting everything that I wanted on hold for somebody else. But I think the other part of it was that I didn't feel as if I was worthy. I believed all the lies. I believed all the
Yeah.
fears that I was even telling myself. So I kept my own self um, here where, stuck. I guess that's a really good word. I kept my
Yeah.
life from being able to really become who I wanted to become because I believed all those things.
Yeah, when we were talking about this, all of a sudden it reminded me, in high school and thereafter, I got into acting. And not because
Yeah,
I
so did
was
I.
trying,
Yeah.
yeah, I wasn't trying to. So for me, the acting was I wanted a family so bad. I wanted a mom so bad. And I thought, well, if I can't have it in reality, I'm going to do this. I'm going to have it on, to be able to do this. And I can pretend to be this person I really wanted to be. So it was, those things. Obviously, I got married and we moved out to the middle of the country, so that kind of
Hmm.
went away.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, those things they kind of mask you again, for me it was that I don't know that that was gonna be me, but I knew I wanted it to be me. And if something came along right now, I'm not gonna lie, I'd be like, all right, what do you want me to do?
Me too.
You
Oh,
know?
me too. I am all about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm totally there now. Probably more confident now because you do tell yourself you're not worthy of something. You hear, especially in the acting business, because I remember so many times I'm short, I'm small, I don't look my age, I have a higher voice. And back in the 90s, that was, you can't get anything because you had to be the actual age of the character. You had to be the size of the character. I mean, everything
Right.
about me worked against me. And
Right.
that goes into again that you close yourself off and you put
Mm.
like there goes the wall because you
Right.
want to protect yourself. So
Right.
you don't explore the things that maybe you want to explore for that fear. Like, I'm so used to I always said this. I was so used to living in chaos in that silence that anything normal or out of that silence scared me because I didn't
Hmm.
know how to thrive or be me outside because I was so quiet for so long.
My daughter had so much trauma by the time she was 18 months.
Mm,
I mean, I just hate this for her. I mean, we got her when she was 18 months and she's made a lot of progress, but she really hides behind that mask.
hmm.
And I hate that for her. I hate when kids learn so young that they have to live behind that mask. It's just not fair because they didn't have a chance to start their life before they already had that mask on.
Yeah.
And she gets into so much trouble at school and in different areas of her life. But behind that mask is the most absolute beautiful soul. She is so helpful and caring and loving. And then she feels the least bit of threat or whatever goes on with her.
Yeah.
And it just comes out in like the worst ways. And I'm like, wait a second, you're too pretty to act like this. You're too beautiful inside to act like this. So what's going on? But it's that learning so very young that
Yeah.
I'm going to start acting out and I'm going to hate and I'm going to punch and I'm going to fight
Yeah.
because I've got these masks on and I'm afraid.
Yeah. No, that's exactly that's what I did too. It was, you just that's all you know, and that's what protected you. I have
Right.
a I know somebody now. It's actually somebody I related to that only one of two. So different on the outside than on the inside, and I just recently have been able to know the inside person, which is so total opposite of that outside.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, like we talk about fear when you were talking to me about doing this, immediately she came to mind
Oh, okay.
because I'm like, again, only because recently I've gotten to really get to know her and I'm like, oh my God, who the hell are you now? Like,
Right.
what is, I mean, literally, it was like, and I tell her all the time, I'm like, you are the last person that I would see this other person inside.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That's how opposite it was. It's this such, and I always say, what are you guarding? What
Right.
are you guarding? Because on this inside of you is not like just total opposite. And I'm so lucky to be able to see that other part.
Right.
Because
Right.
I mean, that's when you talked about this mask thing, just immediately she came to my mind because I'm like, oh man, we talk about mask. That lady's got a mask. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Now my daughter, she does take the mask off
mhm,
for certain people who are hurting, vulnerable. I mean, she becomes that caretaker even at 9 years old. I'm
mm,
like so proud of her. And
yeah.
this is another thing. I see her really take her mask off with animals. And that was another thing with myself. I mean, I was living in it was one of the worst environments, but you put an animal with me and it just melts me. It goes away, and I'm able to really become who I am and let that animal in.
Yeah.
Not people, but
Yeah.
animals. Yeah, I mean, I'm the first one to say, no, it's animals before people.
I think that's the way to go, though, you know. There's no judgment there. They love you for every part of you. That's the best part. If people, I think, for those of us who put up these masks, if we knew that people were like the dogs, where we knew that they love every part of us, that they cherish everything, the good, the bad, the whatever, the no judgment. Yeah, I don't think we'd have the masks that we wear.
Well, I mean, they helped me so much with my fear. I mean, did you ever have things to help you with when you were living in fear, like the animals did with me, or my little stuffed fairy? I had a stuffed
No.
fairy.
Did you? No. And this is part of my speaking is the only time that I felt little bit, well, I had two things. The only time that I felt the little bit that helped me was the teachers. And like if they,
Mhm.
I felt this connection with them, like you probably would a dog or whatever. But if I felt a connection, anytime I would see them or if they smiled, they said hi, it really kind of let off that weight on my chest and let me breathe a little bit.
When you go through a lot of trauma, one of the biggest things that can happen, and this did happen to me, and I've seen it happen to other people, is a failure to thrive.
Yeah.
And it is a real thing. And it can even happen when you're older. It is just not for babies, but
Yeah.
it can be instilled in you when you are very young. It can come out in mental health ways, from depression, eating disorders, hurting yourself in many types of ways, such as dependencies,
Oh,
and it
yeah.
can show itself in stresses. There can be relationship problems and financial problems. It can bring out an overall just not caring and just this feeling of hopelessness and helplessness, and the anxieties and just the overall stressors of life can just be too much where you live on a
Yeah.
shutdown. And like I said, it can happen very much so with adults at every single age, even in the elderly, especially in the elderly. There are a few key times in my life that I lived like this for a really long time, way longer than I should. When my dad died, and when I lived in a very abusive relationship that I've talked about, you
Yeah.
know, in many different ways here on the podcast, that happened to me where I lived on complete shutdown. And I would say that was a failure to thrive time for me. But because of those times in my life, I really feel that I would be in a different place in my life. I would be further along if I wouldn't have had those times happen to me. Now, I don't live there where I live in the, oh gosh, if this wouldn't have happened, if this wouldn't have happened, then I would be, but I really do believe that they stunted my life. Have you had those times that you were completely and utterly just hopeless in fear? And how did you find your way out?
Yeah, and it kind of goes back to like my childhood where I was I go it's the regrets. Like if I just said something, maybe I would have been rescued and I would have a different life and I would not have the fears that I have.
Mhm.
Um even I mean growing up even into the young adult life where I just wish that I had the voice to do something or say something, but and I think if I did, like you think about where would you be if you
Mhm.
just use the voice, if you just, were able to do that.
Mhm.
Um,
That's good. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I was definitely, like I said, it's only been recently where I've been able to come out of that. Maybe if I did that, I would be further along with who I am or where I am, or maybe my life would have went a different path. I don't know. I love my life right now. I am perfect for where I'm supposed to be. So
Hmm.
things did work out no matter what road I did, I can't go back and change anything, but thank
Right,
God that thank God it worked out to where I am today, because it
right.
could be worse. It could be worse if I chose different things. As far as in my adult life, I think that I wish that I had the courage to do the things I'm doing now a long time ago, because I think
Right.
that I would be, I am speaking and I did write, and the speaking is getting more and more. But I think if I had not had that fear in me 5 years ago, I would be 10 times further of where I am today. And I just, that's where I definitely can see that I just wish I had that, because, and I'm doing a good job, don't get me wrong, but I know that I would have been further along had I started, had I had this much courage to say things or come out of my shell, because that's basically what it is. Like, I'm being more of me now. I'm feeling safer to be me now. And if only
Hmm.
I did that like 5 years ago, I could have been ahead. But it's a journey I'm on, so I'm, you know, it's okay where I'm at.
Hmm. I swore that I would, I really do believe that I have found reasons to live and
Hmm.
to thrive
Yeah,
and be different and to flourish and not allow fear to be that mask anymore and be afraid. And I want to be able to be that strong one. I still have, and years ago, because my sister and I were separated and she was put into the system. And so I keep this with me all the time. And this is one of the biggest reasons she drew this. Let me see if I can get this
I
in the
can. Yeah, I see it.
she drew
Wow.
this of the two of us in our woods behind our house. It was actually she took a real photograph of us and she drew that for
That's
me.
incredible.
And it says sisters forever. And I keep that hung up on the wall and it's been with me wherever I've lived or, I always keep it where I can see it because it's my purpose, it's my mission, it's my voice, it's my
Yeah.
reason for everything that I do. And
Yeah.
I want her to always know that I'm talking for us. I'm speaking for us. I'm trying to help those, those kids that were like us and
Yeah.
hopefully somebody gets the help. And I never want to get back to where I was, where I felt stunted, where I wasn't able to take that mask off because there were definitely times in my life that I felt so that way. But
Yeah.
now, I'm so utterly grateful for a platform and for a way to express things. I mean, we are given such an opportunity that some have not been able to have. So I feel very blessed and honored to be able to do this.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. If we could just give one kid, because I'm all about the kids, if even an adult though, if we could give someone a little courage to come, let that guard down and become who they
Hmm.
are,
Hmm.
then, I think for me it's worth the risk. Um,
Yeah. And
yeah.
courage is the word. Courage is the word. I
Yeah.
mean, I actually wrote down the word courage because it takes courage to shed your mask and
Hmm.
show the world who you are. You
Yeah.
know, and for anybody that's listening, Denise and I, and always Tina, we want everybody to know that, you can believe in yourself. You can do this. We did this.
Yeah.
Believe in you. And here at Real Talk with Tina and Ann, we do believe in you. We know you can do it. You can take off that mask and you can be the real you.
Absolutely. It's a freedom. And tell you what, that breath that you can take from just having it's one step at a time. That's it. One baby step at a time, and soon you'll be running.
Yeah, I always say because of the AA and A sayings, one day at a time. And I always, sometimes it's just one breath at a time.
Yeah.
You just have to get to the next one. You just have to go in it with the next step at a time because you can see that step. And
Yeah. And
sometimes,
it's nice to have somebody to look at or hear that can say, I've got that relatability with you. You know, if I can be that person that you look at and say, you know what, I want to do that, or I want to be that, or whatever it is, keep that in front of you and say, I can do it. I can do it.
okay, Denise, you have some speaking engagements and things like that. Do you want to talk about your book a little bit and talk about some of the speaking that you have?
Yeah, so my book is for anybody who can see. It's uh there 30-second moments and the women who raised me. It's on Amazon. And it's basically my keynote speech. I do talk to educators about the difference that they're making. I really go into schools and I look morale. So I'm not the person that comes in and tells a teacher what they're not doing right. I think nowadays, especially nowadays, it's important to tell these educators all the things that they're doing right that they didn't know, because they're helping kids like myself who came from traumatic backgrounds to thrive, grow, and change. So I'll be up in New Jersey speaking at a few schools that I actually attended. So I'm really excited because these are the schools I was in and where the teachers
Mhm.
were in that I, saw, and then
Mhm.
locally here. And so, yeah, if you're a school district out there and you're looking to inspire, empower, and celebrate your teachers, you can find me, I think, through
Denise, Denise Bard,
com. Yeah, absolutely.
denisebard.com.
That's it.
Okay, so that's great. Anything else? Any other plugs you want to put in there?
No, just, if you need a speaker, here I am, and please go buy my book.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks a lot, Denise, for being here today. We really appreciate you and we really appreciate everybody out there. Until next time.